Welcome into a midweek edition of Believe in Panthers here on Believe Podcast Networks, brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel. Desmond Johnson in the house from Tobacco Road Sports Radio, the Panthers' all-time leading rusher in the house, Jonathan Stewart. And we got a special guest, former Panthers offensive lineman Geoff Schwartz in the house, and he's going to help us chop up Panthers-Rams. That's 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, part of Wildcard weekend, kicking off Wildcard weekend actually at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and I expect it to be full capacity, 74,000 plus sitting in there, hollering and screaming for your Carolina Panthers. We're going to chop that matchup up. We'll look a little bit, maybe also a little bit later on in the show. I believe we have Captain Munnerlyn coming in. We'll do a little around the league with him, and we'll talk about college football playoffs too. We've got two Oregon Ducks on the panel, and the Oregon Ducks are in the national semifinals, so we'll definitely get their expertise on what to expect on Thursday and Friday. But guys, what's up, man? How's everything going?
Good, man. I'm excited for this weekend. Jeff, are you excited?
Yeah, look, we got Oregon Friday night.
Know, man. I see that
Panthers.
Chiefs helmet in the back. I feel like you.
Oh, my Panthers helmet's right. It's right there. I have a Panthers helmet. It's right there. I mean, I think you're excited because, you know, in year two now of this coach and general manager, it's going in the right direction, right? Like you want to see it get better every year, and then you want to get to a point where playoffs are a consistent thing, right? That you go to, or at least you go 4 every 5 years, 6 every 8 years, something like that, right? And so the ability to just, I know it's not pretty, the record's not pretty, those are all true things, but the fact is you got in the postseason, right? And these are the expectations now moving forward, and you want those to elevate, right? Because for a long time, that wasn't what the expectation was here, right? So now we've elevated the expectation in Carolina. You get a home playoff game, man. Like, what's better than that to start with? So it'll be really a fun weekend here watching football.
Well, Jeff, there's 31 players with 0 playoff experience going into this game. It's a baptism this weekend. It's the first. So what's your thoughts on just, playoff atmosphere, what to expect, and the difference between regular season and postseason?
Well, look, it's the speed of the game, right? The speed of the game picks up so much in the playoffs, and the atmosphere, it's just so different. I know you play in big games. Like, Saturday was a huge game for the Panthers. You're on the road. It's just not going to feel the same thing this weekend. You're going to have, I would imagine, a sold out crowd. It should be a sold out crowd.
It better be.
I remember in our rookie season, I was on practice squad, you were playing, but that atmosphere we had for the home playoff game against Arizona was was like nothing even close to what we played. We were 12-4 that year. Nothing even close to anything that we saw the entire season. So the emotions of playing through that will be a lot different for the Panthers and the Rams, who have been here before, right? Now the Rams do have some younger players that have experienced before, but head coach and quarterback have, right? And they're going to have that calmness to them. This will not overwhelm them. So how can you withstand that first 7-8 minutes of the crowd being so hype and so excited and towels waving and like the whole thing being so much different than usual? That is, I think, the hardest part. Once you settle in the game is the game, right? But the emotions of playing in this spot, you're on national television, your friends and family are watching, your stadium is full, here come the Rams, you're 10.5 underdog. And so to me, it's about managing those emotions early. And if you can manage them well and sort of just withstand that, you'll be in a good spot.
I was going to ask both of you guys this question because I've seen it on, of course, the other fans of the NFC South clowning us for winning the division they're in at 8-9 or whatnot. I'm like, but you're in the division too. Like, I don't understand like why you're clowning us when we're the ones that won the division. Do players care at that point? Like, once you've actually, if say you won the division under sub 500 like the Panthers did, or backed into the playoffs like the Panthers did, now that you're in practice week for Wild Card weekend, does that even register? Does it even matter anymore for the players and the coaches, or is it still something where they're like, there's things lingering and you're like, we could have did this, could have did that? Or are you like, it's 0-0 fresh start?
At this point, it's, you made it. That's why you play regular season football, to make it to the playoffs. So whatever the circumstances are in the division, how you got there, it doesn't matter if I showed up in a Pinto. I'm in the playoffs in a Pinto.
And I want to, and plus too, I see all this stuff about everyone's picking the Rams. No one expects the Panthers to win this football game because of them going 8-9 and them being up and down all year, even though they beat the Rams in Bank of America Stadium just a couple of weeks ago. Would you say more pressure's on the Rams to actually win this game than the Panthers because of the expectations on the Rams?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they fought teeth and nail to beat the Cardinals so that way they can play the Panthers. Think about that.
Yeah.
Right. So like it's definitely one of those things where what's the word? Trap game. There is a such thing as trap games in playoffs accordingly. Like I think, the Carolina Panthers do present a threat because of that also, because how they've played this season, you win one this week, you lose one the next week, you win one this week, you don't know what you're going to get, right? And so I honestly think if the Carolina Panthers show up the way we think they can, the Rams are going to be in for a show. I'm being for a shock.
What do you think, Jeff?
The thing about the Panthers this year, and I was even previewing Tampa Bay game like this, like, do we get the good version, the middle version, the bad version, right? Because those are sort of three different teams, and they can all happen in a game. I think we saw on Saturday, they all sort of showed up all at once, different parts of that game, right? The good Panthers beat the Packers, right? They beat the Rams. They beat the Bucks the first time. Like, that team has been really good. The bad Panthers have been pretty bad, right? They've been really bad. In the middle, sort of is in between of those two, that we see maybe less of that than we have the two extremes. And so the best of the Panthers can compete with anyone in the NFL. I'm not sure they're good enough to even win this game, maybe the best version, because the Rams, I think, are really good. That's why they have the second best odds to win the Super Bowl, even as a 5 seed, which is very rare to have, knowing they have to play 3 road playoff games. So how do you get the best version of the Panthers in this game? That's what Canales has to figure out, because he's not been in this spot either with this team, right? So how do you prepare this week? How do you get them ready to play what is the biggest game now of his life, of the Panthers' life? And that to me is hugely important. Again, the Rams will not be daunted by this opportunity, right? They're probably pissed that they have to go on the road to play this game and not have to host a home playoff game, not have the 1 seed the way they lost to Seattle a couple of weeks ago, the way they lost to the Eagles that's the thing about the Rams that is made them vulnerable, is that they don't hold leads very well because their secondary is the probably weakest part of their team. And so if they can hold a lead, and they're good. They're up 26-7 to the Eagles and lost, 30-14 lost to Seattle. They'd be the 1 seed. So there's probably a little bit of them that is ready for this game from that perspective. But this pressure's all on the Rams. Again, the Panthers aren't supposed to be here. They're a 10.5-point dog, 10-point dog in a playoff game. That's a lot of points in a playoff game. So
disrespectful.
It is. I mean, when you look at like the rest of these games, the Eagles got steamed up a little bit, but they all opened about between 1 and 3, right? And the Panthers game opened 10.5. So it kind of tells you what odds makers think about this game. But it's the NFL, man. To win a playoff game by 11 points is a lot of points. That's a big difference in a playoff game. So they're kind of telling you the pressure's really on the Rams to make it happen here.
And the Panthers, to their credit, the games that they've lost by double-digit points were to Buffalo and New England,
Patriots.
Where it was just out of hand from the very beginning. Like, it was one of those days where it was like, oh, Carolina just doesn't. They don't have enough talent. They don't have enough bodies to really compete with Buffalo and New England today. But the rest of them have been kind of either we shot ourselves in the foot early with interceptions, fumbles, something silly in the very, very beginning, and then we're in a hole and we're just trying to dig out of the hole. And then if we lost the game, we probably ran out of time. The first Panther-Rams game back on November 30th, I'm sitting going back looking through the box score. Bryce Young threw for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, had an 84.5 QBR. The run game got off. We had 164 yards on the ground. Chuba Hubbard had 83 yards on 17 carries. He was about 5 yards a carry in that game. Rico had 58 yards on 18 carries. So they were very committed. And I want to say, Stu, who was the game before the Rams? I think it was the Bucks. It was somebody where we did not really run the ball, and Canales really got hammered for it in the post game in terms of why'd you give up the run game when it was this close. I can't remember who it was. It was right before the
Niners.
I think it was the Niners. I think it was the Monday game against the Niners.
You ran the ball well that game, yeah.
Yeah, and we had 3 interceptions in like the first half off of Brock Purdy and did not capitalize on them. And the game was close at the half. I believe the Niners were only up by like 3, or we were tied or something like that. But we didn't run the ball. And that next week against the Rams, they made a concerted effort to run the football. They ran the ball 40 times in that game against the Rams, an average 4.1 yards a carry. So I say all this to come back to what Jeff was saying, that he felt like the secondary might be a weakness, and I agree. But they're going to have Devontae Adams, who played in that first game, Puka Nacua, of course. They're banged up more than we are. I was looking at the injury report. We got some guys coming back. The Rams, Kevin Dotson, their guard, he did not practice on Tuesday with an ankle. Jordan Whittington, their wide receiver, he did not practice with a knee. Their tight end, Terrence Ferguson, he has a hamstring. He didn't practice. Josh Wallace, cornerback, he didn't practice. He got an ankle. And then there was a couple with limited. Devontae Adams had a full practice on Tuesday.
Adams is going to play.
Adams is going to play. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in. Now, for us, full participants, you'll like this, Stu. Robert Hunt was a full participant in practice on Tuesday with a bicep injury. He got back in like week 1 or whatever. We're pretty sure he's going to probably re-debut on Saturday night. Chandler Zavala, full participant with a calf injury. He's missed a few games. Tershawn Wharton, full practice. He had a hamstring. He'll be back probably. Claudin Cherilus was back full practice. Bobby Brown III, limited practice. He has a concussion he's dealing with.
I think the Claudin Cherilus coming back is huge.
Yeah, especially not having our guy who's out for the season, Trevor Wallace. Yeah, so that I think linebackers are our weakness on the Panthers in terms of defense, just depth. We're running out of bodies kind of there. And I'm worried about the Rams exploiting that with their run game because what was that? That was the thing we talked about before, Stu, that the Rams probably should have ran the ball more.
They should have.
They were really getting off on us, and they just kind of abandoned it for a little bit there. What do you think is the main matchup problem, Geoff, for the Panthers when it comes to this Rams team? Because they've been propped up as a top team in the league.
Yeah.
But they've had these slip-ups here and there too. And I don't know. Matthew Stafford's been propped as a possible MVP. I think he played himself out of it. But what do you think is the main thing, the matchup problem for the Panthers when it comes to the Rams?
I think the Rams do such a good job of play design and offense and trying to keep you off your toes, right? They use those big personnel packages to run and pass out of. I think that's the hardest part, right? Is when you play a Rams offense is trying to find a way to stop everything. You sort of have to pick and choose what you want to stop, and that makes them, very well balanced. So that concerns me as well. It's good to see the Panthers obviously getting some offensive linemen back because the Rams defensive line is the best part of their defense. But to me, it's about just, you can't give up the explosive plays, right? You just can't do that to this team. If you make them work for it, obviously it's much tougher. So that to me is the matchup. Like defensively, you have to make them work for their yards. You cannot give them easy yards. You cannot give them easy access to running plays. You have to be able to make them earn it on offense, make them take 10, 12, 13 plays to score if they end up scoring. Now, the Rams special teams is a little bit of a problem. That's one area where you might have a little bit of an edge. Kicking game's not been great this year. They rank near the bottom of the NFL and all the advanced metrics when it comes to special teams. So that's, an advantage that I think the Panthers can hopefully exploit. Again, if you force them into field goals, that's sort of where you can find that advantage because the kicking situation is not great.
Still.
Yeah. I'm going to go obviously to the run game for the Carolina Panthers. Chuba Hubbard, the last time they met, he averaged 4.9 yards per carry. And the last 3 games of the season, and I know it's the regular season and playoffs is different and people are going to feel different and people are going to play different. But the last 3 games of the season for the Rams on defense, they've given up 6.3 yards per carry. 6. You do that twice, that's a first down.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I got to say is we've been struggling trying to find our run game for some time now. And the way the season's gone, it started off with no run game. And then the middle parts of the season, we were like steaming over guys. And we have to figure out a way to get back to that. And if that is Robert Hunt coming back, I'm excited for that. Okay. Get your oxygen. You're right. You have an oxygen right there on the sideline, baby, because we're going to need you every second of the game that you out there. Because what that does, it keeps the Carolina Panthers on schedule. And then obviously on the flip side for the defense, Geoff, when you're playing a Hall of Fame quarterback, the only thing that you can do is play discipline ball. You play discipline enough in the secondary.
Yeah.
Linebacker, that second tier there. If you stay disciplined within your scheme and your defensive line, that front 4 gets busy and gets active like they did the previous game, they sped up his processing. They sped up his process of going through his checks, right? His reads.
Yes.
And when you do that to a quarterback, he gets antsy because he's a Hall of Fame quarterback playing the Carolina Panthers on an away game.
They did harass him that game.
Pride settles in. and he gonna give us another one. Okay, so get those turnovers and shorten the field, and then you can start playing. You can get away with kicking a field goal if you get some turnovers, right? Because you want to score touchdowns. You don't want to just settle for field goals,
especially against the Rams.
But when you do consider, taking care of the ball offensively, but then taking the ball away, it's an away game for them. You have the home field advantage, and I think that's one of the things that people, just disregard a lot of times, and especially in these playoff environments. It's going to be loud. It's going to be different.
It's crazy too, because I was just sitting here thinking about it. The last home playoff game in Charlotte would have been 2015 against the Cardinals in the NFC Championship game. So it's been 11 years.
People have been waiting 10 years to get out their seat and yell.
And it was so loud, especially the game prior to that, the Seattle game. You guys were talking about the crowd and everything else. Stu, you popped off that run right there at the very beginning. The building was shaking, like it was literally like doing like this, like off of that run.
So you saying it was a little beastquake?
Yeah,
a little
quake, a little mini beastquake going on in Charlotte. Yeah, for sure. Like that's one of those things, because that crowd was just ready to erupt. And it was like one of the first plays of the game, wasn't it? Like it might have been the first play of the game that you rattled it off on and just beeline like down the field. And I'm looking at the box score again. You're right. We did harass Matthew Stafford in that game. He was 18 for 28 for 243 yards. Yes, he had 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions in that game, and he got sacked twice. His QBR was only 25.4. Like he was being, I believe that's the game Derek Brown chased him around for like 3 hours. Like literally every time he looked up, Derek Brown was like coming around a corner, like Ghostface, like literally trying to like chase this man into out of existence. And he's probably going to be thinking about that going into this, because Derek Brown is like 2 guys that you got to deal with on the other side of the football. I will say in our secondary, do you put J.C. Horn on Devontae Adams, or do you put Mike Jackson on Devontae Adams? I think they put Jackson on him, didn't they?
That's a discussion to be had. Let's talk about it, because Mike Jackson out here playing like an all-pro.
Yeah,
because he had really good. Michael Jackson, the king of pop in football, popping people. He's had a resume of an all-pro this year.
He's played really well,
and that's with going into games with people saying, "Oh, JC's their number 1 guy, so we're gonna go at Michael Jackson." So he's been the target. So, I mean, in my mind, I think the Carolina Panthers are 1 play, 1 game away from growing up. That's how I see it, and especially in certain positions. And when I say growing up, it's like, how do you deal with winning? How do you deal with losing? How do you stack performances? And I think Michael Jackson's one of those guys that's been able to stack his performance. And because you talk about, Super Bowl teams, playoff teams, you talk about elite players. You become elite by doing it over and over and over and over again. And so to be able to be consistent in this league is a hard thing to do. Michael Jackson's been that. We know what JC's been doing. Yeah. So, pick your poison.
Those 10 interceptions, were those both JC in that Rams game? Because remember, he's the only player in the league who's got multiple games with multiple interceptions in him. And I'm trying to I think he did. I think that was in that game.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna see if I can check that real quick, because I'm no. Mike Jackson had one.
Okay, that's what I was about to say.
And Nick Scott had one in that game. So another dude that really hurt us in that game that I kind of forgot about, Blake Corum, the running back. 7 carries for 81 yards.
He had that scamper too. He got up out of there.
Yeah, he had a 34-yard run in that game. He averaged 11 yards a carry in that game. So we can control. Again, they kind of abandoned the run game, which, thank you, because they were slashing us in that, and they just kind of went away from it in a game where nobody really pulled away. I mean, it was kind of a track meet, and I kind of think it might be the same way. Although in the playoffs, I would imagine, guys, it gets a little tighter in terms of scores and whatnot. And I think I haven't checked it yet, but
do you see historically teams running the ball more in the playoffs?
That's a good question.
I think I think the idea of the physicality of running the football, which people seem to ignore all the time when it comes to the analytics part of this discussion, right? Like the physicality of running the football and controlling the line of scrimmage, in my opinion, is huge for success in the playoffs. I don't have the numbers exactly. I mean, look, the Chiefs don't try to do that. I mean, it's not what they try to do.
But I'll tell you this.
I think you have to, though.
Yeah.
Who runs the ball more in the playoffs? Patrick Mahomes.
Well, yeah, he takes off. Yeah, I mean,
he takes off way more in the playoffs.
Yeah, look, we see quarterbacks. We're going to see Josh Allen do this. Matt Stafford's not the right guy, but we're going to see plenty of quarterbacks in the playoffs, I think, start using their legs more because it's such an advantage, right? You know, defenses just can't account for you sometimes. And the ability to get 4 or 5, 6 yards on 3rd and 4 is such a huge benefit to moving the chains, obviously getting 3 more downs, but also just kind of crushing the soul. I mean, like, we're fans of the game. How often are we there sitting on 3rd down, like, tackle the quarterback, get him down, like, and he gets a first down, right?
That's
like,
so slippery. We saw that last week with Baker Mayfield.
It happens all the time. So, like, it's such a backbreaking part. So it's not really designed, right? But the scrambling is certainly part of it. I think just in the postseason, when the weather gets a little bit worse, it's a little colder outside, there is a benefit to being able to control the line of scrimmage, especially if you want to close out games, right? You want to win games with your offensive line, being able to run the football and end the game that way. That's where I think it's very important in the postseason.
Give me your predictions on this before we move over to, I want for a little bonus. I've got 2 Oregon Ducks in the house, and the Oregon Ducks are in the college football semifinals, so I want to get your opinion on that too. But Panthers, Rams, give me your prediction, Jeff, in terms of what you think is going to happen in this football game.
I think the Panthers have to play one of their better games of the season. I know they beat them earlier this year. One thing that I really try not to do when I'm previewing games, right, is really look at past performances. Like the Rams and Panthers played in the regular season on a random Sunday in week 12, whenever it was. Like, to me, that's not as important as looking at how both teams are playing now. I think when it's like Bears Packers, you play twice this year, their division opponents, like that feels a little bit easier to use as a comparison. But the Panthers, in my opinion, have to start fast. They cannot play from behind. That's not a spot that they want to be in with the Rams' ability to run the football, and they have to pressure Matt Stafford. You know, Stu mentioned it. I think it's absolutely true. Older quarterback, not as mobile. You have to get after him. And those are the 2 keys for the Panthers. I think having to win this game, like those things have to go well for them. And they're going to need Bryce Young and that offense to hit the shot plays that they call up, right? If they call up a shot play, they got to hit it. And no more flea flickers in the red zone, please. Okay, like that's let's not do that in the pouring rain. Let's skip the flea flicker. I don't mind aggressiveness, but let's let that one's cross off the play sheet, please.
That's what I said. I don't mind aggressiveness.
Low power, huh?
Yeah.
Well, the problem with that play call wasn't that. The problem was A, you didn't need it, and B, the field conditions were not set up to stop, pivot, and turn to the ball. Dowdle has been slipping all game.
Yeah.
So even if you like the play in the situation, and T-Mac was running like a little bit of like a hook and go or curl and go, stop and go, and maybe he's open, and he probably would have been open, but the operation just like took too long. So it's the red zone, man. Like, you don't need that play.
Yeah, we're like at the 25 or something like that. There's not enough space to run a flea flicker. To this day, I'm just like, what? Why were we trying to be so cute? Like, and they do that. Canals does that every once in a while when he's in his bag and he's calling these plays. He gets in a rhythm. He'll call something random that's like, why did he call that? Like, and I guess it's because he's kind of still learning on the fly too, and we're watching him live learn this on the fly to call games and manage a team at the same time, because that's different than just sitting in the booth calling plays and have no other responsibility than calling plays. He's having to manage time, like clock and stuff.
All of it.
Stuff, like everything, and call plays. So I get it. And I've given him a longer leash because of that. But yeah, that flea flicker is just, you can't do that. You just cannot do that. Where they were and part of the game and everything else. College football playoffs start Thursday, actually. And you can actually go over to our friends over at FanDuel and place bets on those Thursday night and Friday night, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. And you guys were talking about it before we came on. Oregon running back Jordan Davidson has been ruled out. They announced this last night. He's been ruled out of the game on Friday against Indiana. Apparently has a broken clavicle that he suffered in the win against Texas Tech at the Orange Bowl. He had 42 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. He had a 1-yard score with 16 seconds left in the win against the Red Raiders.
Scored a touchdown, a broken, what is it called?
It's insane.
Clavicle.
Broken clavicle. So it's collarbone. Yeah, pretty much. So they won't have him. They also had 2 players from that same running back room enter the transfer portal, Jaden Linmar and Mekhi Hughes. As 2 Oregon Ducks sit on our panel here today, how you guys feeling going into this game against the Indiana team that has captured the hearts of America all of a sudden because they just roll out 3-star players and just beat the crap out of you, basically? Like, it's old school football that Kurt Cinetti and folks are doing up in Indiana. And how does it feel to have America hoping you guys lose? Because I think that's what's happening right now. Everybody's rooting for Indiana.
We're used to
you guys are used to this. Like,
we're used to people wanting the Oregon Ducks to lose, man.
Not America, not the whole country. Like, the whole country's rallying behind Indiana right now. It's crazy.
I think the thing that's so different is like that we're underdogs and people are betting on the other side, which is like which is sort of rare to have happen in this game. Look, Indiana, man, they don't make mistakes, right? It's the number one thing they do. It's the number one quality, in my opinion. They don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves. And then they're physical. They're well coached. It will take Oregon's best performance on offense to make this happen. Defensively, I think we've gotten a lot better since the Indiana game. It's interesting to hear guys talk about the rematch, but also, that they probably didn't take Indiana as serious as they should have in the first game. They're off a Penn State win. They're off a bye. Everyone talking how good they are. Here comes it's Indiana. Like, if they had Alabama on the side of their head, they might take them more serious. Now, Indiana beat us. I mean, it's not like that's the reason we lost. But one thing I've liked about the program this season is they very clearly set up their calendar to be the best they can be now, right? Like they talked about it. We want to peak January 1st and beyond. So I like where the team is at. Offensively, we got to cut down the self-inflicted mistakes. Like, it's too many of those in against the better defenses. We played Iowa, Penn State, Indiana the first time, Texas Tech, Indiana again. The offense has the potential to not make all the mistakes and score points. The Davidson injury is bad for many reasons. It's not that we don't have other running backs, but his specific role was very important to what our offense does. He's our short yardage sort of power guy. It's not what, Whittington is really good, but that's not really what he does. Hill is too young to be that guy, in my opinion. Jay Harris, who's probably gonna have to play, hasn't played in 2 years essentially. And he was also our fullback on sort of the 20 packages where we had 2 running backs in the game. He did a great job of leading out and blocking the right guys. He was good in pass pro because, Hill, the young kid, now they're both young, they're both true freshmen. Hill can't pass protect. That's not what he does. And this is a game against Indiana where you got to pass protect, man. Like, they're going to bring pressure. They're going to sim you. They're going to bring a ton of blitzes. And so it's just the other things he does besides running the actual football are hugely important to success for offense. So someone has to step up, man. Like, next guy up, it's the way it is. And maybe this is a Dante Moore game, right? We got to pass the football and he's got to be that guy.
Yeah. The previous game that they played in, you're right about, I think, the defensive side of the ball. I think they didn't really take, Mendoza serious.
No,
because they played them, when they played him when he was at UCLA, right? And so, this is a
Cal.
That's what I meant. Yeah. And like you've seen him in one jersey and then you've seen him in another jersey, and that's just kind of one of those things where it's like, whoever this guy is and whoever the people think he is, he ain't all that. That boy all that. Okay, so you got to get after him. You got to figure out how you're gonna get him uncomfortable because he is a running threat, and I think he's a clumsy running threat. He looks like a giraffe out there, but but it works.
It works,
right?
It's effective. Yeah,
because it's effective, and he does. It's a 3rd and 6, and he takes off running for that 7-yard gain that keeps the chains moving.
Yep.
He's a big body, so he's willing to take hits and willing to take hits from linebackers and fall forward. Those are the types of quarterbacks that are scary to a defensive coordinator because you don't really necessarily have an answer for that. And so, last game on the flip side for Oregon, they were getting after Dante Moore. 6 sacks. Can't do that.
No.
You can't allow that to happen. That's why I say the trenches, offensive line, they have to show up, especially when your grinder of a running back is out, right? When he's out, that means your identity has to show up elsewhere. Where is it going to show up? Yeah. It's going to have to show up in the trenches. It's going to have to show up with the tight ends. It's going to have to show up with the receivers finding work on those running plays specifically, and staying open and staying moving in the pass game when Dante Moore has to find and buy time to hit the deep ball or the big play, right? And so these are the things that I think the Oregon Ducks are going to have to overcome when it comes to the physicality of this game.
The other game Thursday, it's almost being treated as an afterthought because it almost feels like people are treating the Oregon-Indiana game as the de facto national championship, which is a dangerous thing to do because in the other game, it's Miami and the SEC's the only hope, Ole Miss. Who you guys, because I'm not even going to ask you who you're picking in the Oregon game because I already know who you guys want. Miami, Ole Miss. Who do you guys want Oregon to face in the national championship?
I want Cristobal.
Ooh,
Miami,
Oregon.
Cristobal, Miami Hurricane.
Look.
Give me them Canes.
You would want Ole Miss because they're worse than Miami. Like that's the right answer. Now,
the Miami defense is probably the best one left, right?
The sentimental answer is you want to play Mario Cristobal, right?
Yeah.
But those two defensive ends against our tackles is a problem. Like Ole Miss would be a much better matchup for us. Their offense, Ole Miss offense, like we can handle fast, sort of up tempo, like the offense they play. We can handle that.
Yeah,
we could probably handle Miami's offense, but those defensive ends are a problem. And Ole Miss just can't stop.
I think Miami's offense isn't anywhere. It's right there along the same level of Texas Tech, in my opinion. Because the offensive coordinator doesn't really know what he's doing.
But the difference is they can run the football, like just pound you forward. Yeah. Texas Tech just couldn't do that. It's like it's not their game. So I think Miami, but I thought Georgia would win easily. So I was wrong on that game. I think that Miami should win and cover, but again, I was very, very wrong in the Miami, the Georgia Ole Miss game. I thought Miami, by the way, could win that game. That did not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick before we get you out of here, Jeff, I'm gonna circle back around to the Panthers because there was a question I wanted to ask you about the Dave Canales, Dan Morgan era and where they are now. This is what, year 2 of Dan Morgan and Dave Canales, and for them to be division winners, playing a home playoff game in year 2. This is year 6 of David Tepper's ownership here. It's the first time he'll be in the playoffs. Your thoughts real quick on the progression of where they are and maybe the possible future for the Carolina Panthers. I see people talking about Atlanta and the Saints and, for the future of the NFC South. And I'm like, the division winners right here. Like, they're very well equipped, have all their picks and everything to move forward and expand what they're doing here. Do you like what you've seen from Carolina the past 18 months or so as they try to turn around the mess that they created?
Absolutely. They've done a good job in the draft and free agency. I think the number one question now is, what do you do with Bryce Young, right? I think Canales has gotten the most out of him, but $60 million a year is that's going to be the question, right? Like
money. Yeah.
It does feel like the quarterbacks sort of his caliber who get those long-term deals 2 years in, you're like, shit.
Can you give us an example?
I think we have plenty of examples of those situations.
There's one right now.
Kyler Murray,
and so
Tua Tagovailoa in Miami.
Kyler Murray, like you get to again. I don't know if Bryce Young is better or worse than Kyler Murray. I think they're probably in the same tier quarterback. I think he's better than Tua, but like that's the thing is like when you pay your quarterback that much money, you have to hit everywhere else around the roster in the draft. And so far, this draft class appears to have some of those guys. If you stop doing that as much and you pay the quarterback all that money, your team just gets worse and your quarterback doesn't elevate your team, right? And so I think that's the biggest decision the Panthers have to make now. It's like, what do we do with Bryce Young? There's not obviously great options in the draft this year. Maybe next year you decide to take a run at a quarterback. But again, if you're a playoff team again next year, how do you justify dropping Bryce Young, right? So I think for them, this offseason is again spent around how do we maximize the most of Bryce Young, right? Whether that's adding one more wide receiver, whether it's adding, continue to build the offensive line, whether it's adding your running back situation is pretty good here. Like whatever it is, maybe you need to get a premium tight end. I'm not saying the tight ends here are terrible, but like a premium tight end, like something to continue to give Bryce Young all the weapons to be the best he can be.
All right, so we're gonna let Geoff go. Geoff, we appreciate you coming through.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Geoff.
Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.